one you need to take advantage of, take advantage of it. And I'm gonna be pretty straight with you. I'm gonna tell you there's cameras in the classrooms and there's not. I'm gonna tell you something super hard if I know it's easy, and vice versa. So it's up to you how you do in this class, really. I mean, effort level, obviously math ability is something that I'm gonna play, but you can still do okay if you put the effort in when I tell you to put the effort in. All right, so we did a lesson today or yesterday. If you were not here, I'm gonna give you the super fast version of it. We said if we have a line segment, A to B is a line segment, has endpoints, doesn't go on forever like a line. That means it has a length. If it ends, we can measure it. It has a length. So this pencil is representing that line segment from A to B. We put a point in the middle between A and B, we said. And we said there was one concept that was the whole lesson for the most part, which was what? I put a point in the middle. What did we say was true? I put a point in the middle. Put a point in the middle, C. So C is where my fingers are. A and B are on the end. What did we say was true? Creates two smaller segments now. So we still have the big one. There's actually 3 segments in that. The big segment, but then we created 2 smaller segments. Well, what did we say was true? Close, specifically. Oh boy, we in trouble in this one. Well, some of you will hopefully know it. It's literally written on the board. What is true about these two? Yes, thank you. It's written right there on the board. I said I will call it little plus little equals big. This smaller segment that we created plus this smaller segment that we created has to still equal the length of the original. We didn't change. All we did is put a point there. We didn't change the length of it in any way by putting that point there. We just now created 2 segments. These 2 smaller segments have got to add up to the big segment that we had originally. That's what I said I would call little plus little equals big. It means the length, and I guess I better show this. I don't think we did this in the first class because of the announcements. Well, they got it. The length, that doesn't really show as well on the green background, but the length of the yellow segment plus the length of the green segment has to equal the length of the entire big segment from A to B. That was the whole lesson. Now the algebra can get complex, but I said if you can just set up the correct equation, that's a C already. And then doing the correct algebra gets you to B's and A's. So with that in mind, if you just write little plus little equals big and plug in data, oh, I'm giving you the data in a different way. Like on the other one, if you weren't here, I'll show you really quickly. They might show you data like this. With the 39 might be there. And then they show you that from A, that's what this means, from A all the way to B is a length of 39. That's the way we did it yesterday on problems. So sometimes they'll show length this way. Sometimes they'll just say, well, AB is 39. I told you when you write it like this, that means the length of. So the length of AB is 39. And I have no idea what they do on the EOC. They might do it both ways. I have no idea. So now we just plug stuff in. So what is the length of the first little segment? Yeah, AC is 18. When there's a number in there, or if it's not a number, that's the length. That could have been 3x plus 7. That would be the length. Again, you need to go back in if you missed the lesson. You need to go back and watch that video on what is a variable specific to geometry. What's the length of CB? Before we know it, if you solve for it, I don't want the number. What's the length of it? For the equation, what would we write? Yeah, it's an unknown, right? We can use X. We could just write CB. That means the length of CB. I don't care if you put X or CB, it doesn't matter at all to me. I would tell you to create an equation though, even on the simple ones, just in case you make a math mistake, If you have the equation, you're at least guaranteed the C. If you don't write the equation, you make a simple math mistake, and every year some kids do this, then it's all wrong. You get nothing. So write the equation, even on the simple ones. What's the big one? Yeah, I don't know what the first person said. 39. Big segment is 39. Now to solve, we treat the CB just like it's a variable, like it's X. So we want to get that by itself. How do I get it by itself? I need to get rid of 18, right? Yeah, I'm just kind of letting you guys call it out right now, just so we can get through it. So I subtract 18 from both sides. If you subtract 18 from 39, you get the 21. And you could go back and just make sure they add together and that they're 39. It's always a good practice. I don't always make you do that just because we go so fast. But one of the problems is pretty much like that. No, I mean, I guess technically there is a variable. This was an unknown, so that is technically a variable. But the algebra is not complex. So everybody should be able to get that one correct. Then there's one where the algebra is more like what we did yesterday and what I assigned on the worksheet from yesterday. That one, if you can at least set it up though, you're guaranteed a C on that problem, which means if you get the first one right, you're guaranteed at least a high C, if not even a B. And then if you get it all right, obviously you go high. Any questions on that? Super quick version. But we're gonna go ahead and do the quiz right now. You're gonna need your stuff for the lesson after the fact, so you can go ahead and put that to the side. We're I'm gonna kind of pass out a lot of one word first, and then I'll come back. Yeah, I told you I was pen it down, just because we are so far behind, we got a good question right after this. Oh, I don't remember which one I was going on. Did I give you guys? Yeah. Oh no. You can grab one of those. Yeah. I haven't determined. I said I was only going to make it 2 points. I might actually still be making it 4. Might be able to help yourself a lot with this one grade. It would be nice because we have some quizzes that are pretty tough this quarter. Proofs. We get the proofs. Yeah, I hate proofs. I love math and I hate proofs. I'll put it that way. To put it that way. Actually, I liked them when I was in school and doing them. I just hate teaching. It's not something you can do. What's the number? Is it 7.4 or 6.4? 6.4. Ah, you. You. There you are now. Go ahead and get started. I'm going to give you like 8 minutes probably. If I come to you and you're not done, but you're making progress, then I'll let you keep working. If you're not making progress and you're just staring at paper, then great question. Oh, that's fine now. I get that. All right. So again, I'll give you 8 minutes. Everybody was, well, one person wasn't done, but they were just sitting there. Not recording. Anybody need a calculator while I'm up? You have one, Tyler? Oh, you got one? Is that not working? Okay. It has. Yeah, this is all my quizzes. So instead, like, there's no open note quizzes in my class, so never had any major go. And it benefited the doubt once, but that, good job. May want to look over here. I forgot to mention this in the last class. We talked about that yesterday for those of you who were here. Remember, in geometry, after you solve for a variable, you need to make sure you read the question. They may not just want the variable. Know your work. One last time. I am recording it. Thanks for your names on it too. I wouldn't have said anything. I already got 20. 20. As long as one person in the class doesn't. Thank you. I thought I remember seeing her name. I looked at her. I get a report, and I talked to her once. Like I know a few people in here did. One for this quiz. You? Anybody else? Then? You? So this is your bell work for the lesson. If you want to start working on it when you're done, really good idea. which go pretty fast. This can be a pretty challenging topic. Yeah, it's pretty flexible. When we do quizzes, I want everything off your desk. Way more flexible today, we're in a hurry, but it should be a calculator, a pencil, and my quiz. Still got a couple minutes. So again, if you're done, start doing that bill work. You didn't grab, you don't really need to look today. You'll need it tomorrow when we have a block. Well, for you guys, it'll be Thursday. One more else. Actually, let's do this. There. Hurry back. Got it. So I know we have most of the people done, we're wrapping up, but I'm treating this like a quiz, meaning you will be able to do retakes. So originally, I think I probably said it was like an exit ticket, which you might have thought maybe you couldn't do a retake, but I'm gonna let you do retakes on this one. You need to know how to do this, so. And if I got an 80, I would do a retake. This is one you can have a 100 on. There's nobody in this class that know what's on it. Should be able to work on your algebra, on whatever you need to get you to 100 on it. And you won't have to tutor if you get a passing grade on it. So it's not like you need to study to make sure you get 100. Anybody still working on the quiz? I got them all, right? I good, Kristen? All right, so I want you to work on this bell work. I'm going to scroll down, but write weighted average first. Then I'm going to kind of zoom in and scroll down a little bit. You have a quiz on Monday. It'll be on the rest of this module, basically. So what we do today, for you guys, Thursday and then Friday, and quiz Monday. And I'll tell you right now, there are no IXLs for weighted averages. So I have a worksheet. Oh, actually, I'll pass the worksheet out in a second. But you work on the bell work while I pass that out. Actually, I could probably zoom now that I've told you about the quiz. Oh, shoot. I don't know what I used to be able to fit everything on the screen when we're that. Now they've changed nothing in the settings. Just take one and pass it back. I'm gonna do a tail. I'm gonna give yours to this row, and they'll hand it over to you. If you don't have enough, oh wait, oh if you already got raise your hand, you already the same thing you probably picked up. I passed it out in the last class. I forgot it because yeah, if you didn't get one when you came in, raise your hand. And I'll give you one. It's the one you should have gotten when you came in, worksheet. So you'll need this potentially today, so go ahead and throw it out. Like I said, there are no IXLs, there are only the book problems, and these are some of the book problems. Anybody not? Got it. So again, I'll just remind you before it happens. It already happened last time. No phones. I want to see you picking up phones. You're going to be moving through this really fast. Dude, we're good. All right. I'm going to kind of do this fast. Let's record it. If you need to go back, slow down, pause, do all that kind of stuff. I don't know how difficult this is. It's not the most difficult thing we'll do, but it's certainly not easy. So I'd say it's kind of one of those in the middle. So I would say you should set your sights pretty high on this quiz. Well, this part of the quiz, one of the other parts of the rule. With that in mind, what's an average? You all have done averages at some point. Average in your class, batting average if you ever played baseball. Free throw percentage is an average. It is. It is the exact middle of it's really the middle of a set of data, if you want to get real specific. But typically the way we think of it is, hey, I got maybe two numbers. It could be more than two numbers. What's the average? Like, what's the middle of that? Meaning, in number one, if I get a 100 on a quiz, and if I get a, 80 on a quiz, what's my average? What does that average out to? 90, right? 90 is the exact middle of those two numbers. It is 10 away from 100. It is 10 away from 80. If we represented it using a line segment, which is kind of where we're going, 100 was the, I made it from 80, but it's fine. If 100 was the high end point, 80 was the low end point, because those are my two scores. 90 would be exactly in the middle. It would be the midpoint. Jot that down. We will get to that. That means, and I'm doing a longer version in this class than I did last class, they have announcements. The length or the distance would be the same. And in this case, that distance is 10 away. It'd be 90 in the middle. That's what an average is. If you only have two things, it's pretty easy to see. If you have more than two values, it's a little trickier to represent it as a line segment. Actually, you can really, we do have line segments where we'll have multiple values, but you can't do what I just did as much on this. All right, next. You have a 100 average on classwork, 50 average on your quizzes. What's your average? 75 would be right in the middle, right? So 50, 100, again, right exactly in the middle, the midpoint. 75, definition of midpoint. Both of those, if we think of them as line segments, both of those smaller line segments have the same length. They're equal, same size, whatever you want to call it, midpoint. That's the definition of midpoint. It creates two equal length segments. Again, that's the average, we would say. But what are we assuming in those two questions? What are we assuming when we do that? Kids go, I don't know, you're the teacher. You ever have a class where classwork isn't worth as much as quizzes? Oh yeah, a lot of times. Where you can have a great average on your classwork, but not be doing so great on your quizzes, and your grade's not so great. We are assuming in both of these problems, those values are weighted equally. That number, we're assuming that number is just as important as that number, which is not always the case. Then you got a lot of classes, I'll guarantee you, where you've got different components of your grade, but they're not all weighted the same. Tests normally are weighted a lot more. So if you crush it on tests, but then you don't do some of the other stuff, you actually wind up being okay, because that's worth more. If the opposite is true, and you crushed it on the classwork, but then you bomb, the bomb is not good, by the way, in my day. And then you don't do well at all on the tests, you don't do very well in the class. So it's, again, Mr. Gill, why do I need to know math? You need to understand how your grade works. That's a real immediate. You need to understand weighted averages and how that works. That, oh, wow, my quizzes are really, really important. Maybe I better work to get that quiz grade up. And yeah, I still need to do my classwork, but I need to focus a lot more on those quizzes because that is the most important part of my grade. So that's the very simplified version of what a weighted average is. It's still an average. You're still taking the same scores and data, but you might be placing more importance on one of them when you go to calculate the average. Oh, you're killing me with that. Got it. You got it. I mean, we go so fast that you're gonna miss stuff. I mean, there's just no way around it. Just like Mrs. Boatwright, I just found out, does not let kids go to the restroom during class. So I really love that strategy. So I haven't gotten there yet. We'll see how the quizzes and quiz grades go, but we are not doing well on quizzes, and I'm gonna have to change something. Drives me crazy. Any questions? We're gonna get into the math now. So we're doing this relative to a line segment. So we're still doing line segments. So we're going to say if I have these two or this line segment and the endpoints are 50 and 100. And let's say the 50 and the 100 are equally weighted. They're both the same importance. Don't say it out loud. If you want to write it down, that's up to you. I want to know if I put a point C on the line segment between A and B. So if I put an average, basically I'm finding the average, but this is the way it'll get worded in this chapter. You're putting point C on a line to split it into two smaller segments, and the 50 and the 100 are equally weighted. I want you to try to come up with the answer. Don't say it out loud. What would the answer to that question be? And read the question if you didn't understand what I said. Just read it. We're splitting that line basically into two segments by putting C on. All right, who thinks they got the answer? What do you think it is? Yeah, it's still an average. So this is the problem with math. They use really weird wording and concepts to just say, what's the average between them? It's the same exact thing we do. These two numbers, these two values are equally weighted. So neither one is more important. So we therefore should know where is the average going to fall if those are, like, don't give me the number, but where's the average going to be relative to the 50 and the 100? It's right in the middle. If they are, so again, here's what you need to know. Here's a concept, write it down. If they're equally weighted and you only have two of them, it's right in the middle. That's what the midpoint is. It means the two endpoints are same importance, same weight. Normally we would say they're 1-to-1 in a ratio like that. 1-to-1 means they're worth the same. If it was 2-to-1, then the left point would be worth more. If it was, sure. We'll get to that one. So that is the midpoint. That's where it would be. And this is one where we can pretty easily do the math. And we get 70. Again, here's the big concept. Beat it to death. Equally weighted endpoints means your average is right in the definition of average when you're just doing a normal average. Now, though, we're getting into weighted average. One of the points is going to be more important. We'll start with just two, but it can be more than 2 points when we do this. We won't get into that until Thursday. First, though, if those were equally, so draw that out. I want you to draw this one out. We're going to do a couple things on this. And write down that whole statement up there. Forgot to spell it. Although they didn't, we were way behind it. Oh, yeah. So we did one already, so but just copy this one down and you should be fine. Place a point C on line segment between A and B if point A is weighted 3 times as much as point B. One of them is now more important. And then you see, I want you to, I already told you to do that, but for add a line, you can try to do that first. Really have to put a step closer to it. I'm just trying to see if I need to give some people more time. Like when the first person finishes, I know, okay, people should start to finish. It looks like people are finishing. Oh, I don't know if you've done the whole problem or not. So if they are equally weighted, or if they were equally weighted, where would we put that point? Where would the normal average be? I'm going to let somebody else. Again, I'm supposed to, like, once somebody answers, I'm supposed to wait like until 2 more people give me an answer before I go back to that person. So you guys have been answering somebody else.
The middle.
Middle, right? It's the normal average is middle when you only have 2 points, but the number would be 80. You're right in the middle. 80 is the midpoint. If they are equally weighted, it's 20 away from 100, 20 away from 60. But are they equally weighted? No, they're not, right? So what do you think when we wind up putting point C on there? What do you think is going to happen? So again, think of it as classwork and quizzes. What if your tests are more important and you're at a 60 and you're at 100 on class, but your tests are way more important? Where do you think your grade would be? Where would your average be? Your weighted average be? Stretching.
Yeah, stretch.
It's going to be lower than 80, right? We know that for sure. So I have on this next quiz some conceptual questions where you got to explain to me something. I do a lot of that. And for some people, it works out better because they don't necessarily do all the work and all the problems, but they get the concepts. I should understand, well, if I know if they're equally weighted, I fall here, but now I'm making this way more important, 3 times more important. I better know that's going to drag my average in that direction. It's not going to be 80, definitely not going to be over 80. Because this is more important. This is going to count more when I do my calculation, which I'll give you the calculation. So it's going to, and 3 times is quite a bit. Like it's not just twice as important, it's 3 times as important. So it might pull it all the way down, somewhere down here, 70-ish way. So that's the first thing you need to be able to do is estimate on one of the quizzes or explain which answer would be the correct answer. That they're just giving you that. They're like that would just be given to you. You wouldn't give it. Well, no, I ignore grades. We're dealing with line segments. I just use grades as an example that you might be more familiar with. Whenever we do that, good question. We're dealing with line segments and putting a point on a line. So if I refer to something else, it's just to try to give you a frame of reference. It's always about line segments and points. If this point is a weight of 3, it is a more important point. So it's going to pull the average that way. But we're always dealing with splitting a segment into smaller segments. Okay, so that's the lesson. We're splitting a line segment into smaller segments by putting a point on the line somewhere between. And we do that using the values of the points that they've given us. In this case, just 2, you'll actually see somewhere through. And I'm going to give you a formula at the end of this tomorrow, not, Thursday. Right? I'm trying to get you the concept because there is a conceptual question in most of the quizzes in this. Actually, no, every part of the quiz in this. So here's what this means. Not the formula yet, but it leads us to the formula. If this is 3 times as important, normally I would say 60 plus 100, right? And then I would divide by 2 if they were equally important. Don't pack up. Do not pack up if that's what's going on. If they were equally important, you would just say 60 plus 100 and divide by 2. If this is 3 times as important, it's like having 3 of them versus the 1 over there. Okay, we got 4 minutes, so you definitely should. I got a lot more that I'm doing. So now I have, it's like having 4 scores because this one was 3 times more important. And now I can just do the normal average. 60 plus 60 plus 60 is 180. That's 280. I then divide it by 4 because I had these 4 after I made the 60 more important. So there's a formula we're going to use. Basically, what we did is we said 60 times 3, right? 60 plus 60 is 60 times 3. Well, that just happened to be the weight of 60, right? 3. It was 3 times as much, so the weight was 3. This one is just 1 because it was like kind of the original weight, and then this one was 3 times that. All right, I had something. So here's your formula. Actually, let's just. You take the weight of each point and you write it where the value, where the point is. You write the weight of that point with it, with the point. So again, we'll talk more on the longer day about why that's 1, if you don't understand why I'm getting a 1 there. I would then multiply them together. So technically, I added 3 60s together to get 180, but really adding 63 times the same as 3 times 60. So we multiply those together. I add that. So 180 plus 100. So I add that together, which is what I did a second ago. And then I divide by all the weights added together. So I had a 3 there. So you divide by, however you want to write it, all the weights total. So again, all the weights would be 3 plus 4, which is what I divided by before when I said it's like having 3 60s and 1 100. So again, put the weights underneath the points. The circle represents multiplying those together. You'll just get a 100 when you multiply times 1. Now we combine those into one number, and then we divide it by all the weights added together, if you want to write.
That would be 4, right?
So the weights added together is 4. Because remember, I had 3 60s and a 100, so I had 4 of them when I did it the other way, the intuitive way, not the formula way. That's why we're doing it. All right, so you need to do 1 through 3 really quickly. If you'll notice, they give you look at the sheet, the worksheet. They give you a whole bunch of points on a line at one time, right? What I do? Ignore all of the points except for the 2 that they are talking about in 1 through 3. Yeah, it's always 2. So just ignore the other points. They just did that to save paper and not have to keep writing number lines over and over again. So in each number 1 through 3, ignore all of the other points except for the 2 they're talking about and see if you can do that formula right there. They say it in the question, right? So again, just you'd use the weight. So I see B weighs 3 times as much. So just like this, B would be 3. D, it doesn't give you 1. If it doesn't give you 1, it's just a 1. Just like what we just did up there. Try to do it. Again. You can't do it, you can't, but try it. See if you can figure it out. What's that? Yeah, I just recorded your class. Yeah. Actually, let me stop that. Yeah, I'll still stop it. All right, see you guys. 2 days, I'll see you guys. Yeah, those little baskets. There should be one that says second period.